Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the horizon and watched the alien ship grow larger on the screen. It was massive, 3 times the size of any human vessel, and covered in strange symbols that glowed with a soft blue light. This was it. First contact. The moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. "Keep weapons offline," Jake said to his crew. "We're here to talk, not fight." Next to him, Dr. Amy Chen checked her tablet for the 100th time. She was the lead scientist on this mission, and she looked nervous. Her hands shook slightly as she adjusted her glasses. "The translation software is ready. We should be able to communicate without problems." The alien ship sent a signal, and moments later, a face appeared on the main screen. It was reptilian, with golden eyes and scales that shifted colors in the light. The creature wore what looked like ceremonial armor, decorated with medals and honors. "Greetings, humans," the alien said. The translation came through clear and smooth. "I am Ambassador Zarthek of the Vakreen Empire. We have traveled far to meet you." Jake stepped forward and smiled. "Welcome, Ambassador. I'm Captain Jake Morrison. On behalf of Earth, we're honored to meet you." The conversation went well. Too well, Jake would later realize. Zarthek spoke of friendship, of trade agreements, of sharing technology. The Vakreen had conquered 73 worlds, he explained, but always through peace and cooperation. They wanted humanity to join their empire willingly. "We can offer you medical advances that will extend your lives," Zarthek said, his voice smooth as silk. "Energy solutions that will power your world forever. Faster-than-light travel that will open the stars to you. All we ask is partnership." Amy leaned close to Jake and whispered, "This seems too good to be true." Jake nodded slightly but kept smiling at the screen. "We would need to bring this proposal back to Earth. Our leaders will want to review everything." "Of course," Zarthek said. "Take all the time you need. We are patient." The meeting lasted 3 hours. They discussed trade, culture, and technology. Zarthek seemed genuinely interested in humanity. He asked questions about Earth's history, about human art and music. He laughed at Jake's jokes. By the end, even Amy seemed more relaxed. "We will meet again in 1 week," Zarthek said. "Return to Earth and share the good news. A new age begins for humanity today." The screen went dark, and Jake let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. Around the bridge, the crew cheered and hugged each other. They had done it. First contact was a success. "Set course for Earth," Jake ordered. "Let's go home and tell everyone the news." But as the horizon turned and began its journey back, something went wrong. Alarms blared across the bridge. Red lights flashed on every console. "Captain," the navigator shouted, "I'm reading multiple ships dropping out of hyperspace near Earth." Jake's blood went cold. "How many?" "Dozens. No, hundreds. They're Vakreen ships, sir." Amy grabbed Jake's arm. "They wouldn't. They said they wanted peace." The communication officer turned pale. "Sir, I'm receiving emergency broadcasts from Earth. We're under attack." Jake ran to the main screen and pulled up the live feed from Earth. What he saw made his stomach drop. Huge alien ships filled the sky above every major city, and from those ships, something was falling. Thousands of small objects raining down like deadly rain. "What are those?" someone asked. Amy pulled up her analysis. Her face went white. "Bioweapons. They're releasing some kind of organic weapon into the atmosphere." On the screen, the first weapon hit the ground in New York City. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the ground around the impact point turned gray. The gray spread fast, moving like a wave across the street. Everything it touched dissolved. Buildings crumbled to dust. Trees vanished. Cars melted into nothing. And people didn't even have time to scream. "Oh, God," Amy whispered. "It's consuming everything, all organic matter." More weapons hit across the globe, London, Tokyo, Beijing, Mumbai, Lagos. In minutes, gray waves spread across the world's biggest cities. The communication channels filled with screams and pleas for help. Then, one by one, those channels went silent. Jake watched in horror as New York disappeared under the gray tide. Billions of people lived in those cities. Billions. And they were all dying. "Captain, the Vakreen ships are hailing us," the communication officer said quietly. Zarthek's face appeared on screen again. But now he wasn't smiling. His golden eyes were cold and emotionless. "I apologize for the deception, Captain Morrison," he said. "But my empire has learned that it is better to eliminate potential threats before they become dangerous. Humanity showed too much promise, too much potential. We could not risk letting you develop further." Jake's hands clenched into fists. "You lied to us. You murdered billions of innocent people." "We did what was necessary," Zarthek replied. "Your species would have become dangerous eventually. All aggressive species do. We simply acted first." He paused. "You should be honored. Very few species require this level of response. Usually we just conquer. But you humans, you are special, so we must be thorough." "You're monsters," Amy said, tears streaming down her face. "No, Dr. Chen, we are survivors. And now you are nearly extinct." Zarthek gestured to someone off-screen. "Destroy their ship." The screen went dark. Immediately, alerts blared across the bridge. "3 Vakreen fighters incoming," the navigator shouted. Jake didn't hesitate. "All power to engines. Get us out of here, now!" The horizon lurched forward as the pilot pushed the engines to maximum. Behind them, alien weapons fire lit up the space. One blast hit their rear shields, and the ship shook violently. "Shields at 40%, someone yelled. "Keep going," Jake ordered. "We have to warn whoever's left. We have to tell them what happened." Another blast hit them, and the lights flickered. But the pilot was good. She weaved between the attacks, pushing the horizon faster than it was designed to go. Slowly, they pulled away from the alien fighters. As they jumped into hyperspace and escaped, Jake looked back at the screen showing Earth. Even from space, he could see the gray spreading across the continents. The planet that had been green and blue was turning the color of ash. In his pocket, his phone buzzed. Messages from Earth, from his sister Kate, from friends, from his parents, all saying goodbye, all saying they loved him. Then the messages stopped coming. Jake Morrison had left Earth as a diplomat on a mission of peace. He was returning as one of the few survivors of humanity's extinction. And in his heart, something cold and dark was born. The Vakreen had wanted to destroy humanity before they became dangerous. They were about to learn they were too late. The horizon limped into what remained of Earth's orbital defense network 3 days after the attack. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge and stared at the planet below. Half the continents were covered in gray wasteland. The beautiful blue and green world he had left was dying. "Sir, I'm receiving a signal from Colorado," the communication officer said. "It's coming from inside Cheyenne Mountain." "Put it through," Jake said, his voice hoarse from 3 days without sleep. A face appeared on screen. General Kyle Harper looked like he had aged 20 years. His uniform was torn, and dried blood covered one side of his face. Behind him, people rushed back and forth in a cramped bunker. "Morrison, thank God you're alive," Harper said. "We thought everyone off-planet was lost." "What's the situation down there?" Jake asked, though he already feared the answer. Harper's jaw tightened. "We've lost about 4 billion people in the first wave. New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, Miami, they're all gone. Just gray desert now. Whatever those weapons are, they eat everything organic. Flesh, plants, wood, even bacteria in the soil. Nothing stops them." Amy moved closer to the screen. "General, I analyzed the weapon. It's a nanite swarm, microscopic machines programmed to break down organic molecules. They self-replicate using the matter they consume. Can we stop them? Harper asked. Fireworks. High heat breaks down the nanites. But by the time we can deploy fire weapons, the swarms have already spread too far. And there are still Vakreen ships up there, dropping more every few hours. Harper nodded grimly. We've noticed. Our military is fighting back, but their technology is too advanced. We shoot down one ship and 5 more show up. They're picking us apart piece by piece. What about the other nations? Jake asked. China, Russia, Europe? Russia launched their nuclear arsenal in the first hours, Harper said quietly. Hit 3 Vakreen capital ships before they could deploy shields. It barely scratched them. The retaliation was immediate. Moscow doesn't exist anymore. Beijing is gone. London is gone. Most of Europe is covered in the gray. Japan is holding on, but barely. India lost half its population in one day. Jake felt sick. So we're alone. Not completely, Harper said. We have survivors scattered across the planet. Underground bunkers, remote locations, submarines still at sea. Maybe 1 billion people left, maybe less. And we're organizing resistance where we can. A new voice came through the communication. Captain Morrison, this is Lisa Grant. I'm in what's left of New York. The screen split, and a young woman appeared. She was covered in dust and wore a makeshift mask over her face. Behind her, Jake could see the ruins of buildings and a gray wasteland in the distance. You're still in New York? Amy asked, shocked. How are you surviving? The gray stops at concrete and steel, Lisa explained. It only eats organic matter. We're hiding in the subway tunnels and sealed buildings. About 10,000 of us made it underground before the city fell. We've been organizing hit-and-run attacks on Vakreen ground forces. With what weapons? Jake asked. Lisa smiled, but there was no humor in it. Anything we can find. Stolen Vakreen guns, mostly. They send patrols into the ruins, and we ambush them. We've learned their weak points. Their armor doesn't cover the joints very well. That's suicide, Harper said. Hiding and waiting to die is suicide, Lisa shot back. At least this way we're fighting. And we're learning. Every patrol we hit, we steal more equipment, learn more about their technology. We're getting better at killing them. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared through the horizon. The navigator called out, Vakreen ships dropping out of hyperspace. Big ones. 20 capital ships. They're heading for Earth. On the screen, Harper cursed. That's their second wave. Our satellites show their different ships, bigger. The massive alien vessels moved into orbit around Earth, but instead of dropping more weapons, they extended huge mechanical arms toward the planet. The arms glowed with purple energy. What are they doing? Someone asked. Amy checked her sensors and went pale. They're mining. Those ships are harvesting Earth's resources, metals, minerals, even the ocean water. They're stripping the planet. Jake watched in horror as beams of purple light shot down from the ships. Where they hit, huge chunks of earth and ocean were pulled up into the air. Mountains crumbled as their minerals were extracted. The Great Lakes began to drain as water was sucked into the alien ships. They're not just trying to kill us, Jake said slowly. They're taking everything. They're going to leave Earth a dead rock. Captain, I'm getting a transmission from the Vakreen fleet, the communication officer said. It's directed at all human channels. They want everyone to hear it. A different alien appeared on screen. This one was larger than Zarthek, with more scars and darker scales. Its armor was blood red and covered in symbols that looked like kill marks. I am War Prime Kethrall, the alien announced, commander of the Vakreen Harvester Fleet. Humans of Earth, you have fought well, better than most species do. But your resistance is pointless. In 3 weeks, we have reduced your population by half. In 3 more weeks, you will be extinct. Jake wanted to look away, but forced himself to keep watching. However, Kethrall continued, The Vacrine Empire is merciful. We offer you this choice. Surrender now. Gather all remaining survivors and present yourselves for processing. We will relocate you to work camps where you will serve the Empire. You will live as slaves, but you will live. This is the only offer. You have 24 hours to respond. Refuse, and we will exterminate every last human. You will not just die. You will be erased from history. The transmission ended. For a long moment, nobody spoke. The weight of the choice hung in the air like a physical thing. Finally, Harper broke the silence. We need to discuss this with the other remaining leaders. Morrison, can you join us? Yes, sir, Jake said. Over the next 20 hours, Jake watched as Earth's remaining leaders debated. Some wanted to surrender. They argued that slavery was better than extinction. At least some humans would survive, but others, like Lisa Grant, refused. If we surrender, we die anyway, she said, just slower, and we teach them that humans can be broken. I'd rather die fighting than live on my knees. The debate went on and on. People cried. People shouted. Some begged for their children to be saved at any cost. Others demanded one final stand. When the 24 hours were almost up, Harper called for a vote. Jake watched the tally come in from bunkers and hiding spots across the world. The survivors voted, and the result was clear. When Kethral's face appeared on screen again, expecting surrender, Harper delivered humanity's answer. But it wasn't words. It was silence. The transmission stayed open, but no human spoke. They just stared back at the alien commander with cold, dead eyes. Kethral seemed confused at first. Then he laughed. So you choose extinction. So be it. Your species ends today. No, Harper finally said, his voice quiet but hard as steel. Today you learn what you've done. You came to Earth and released hell. You killed our families, our friends, our children. You took everything we had. Harper leaned closer to the camera. But you made one mistake. You left some of us alive, and we're going to show you what humans become when you take everything from them. You wanted to destroy us before we became dangerous? Harper's smile was terrible to see. You're too late. The transmission cut off. In bunkers across the world, in the ruins of cities, in hidden bases deep underground, humans began to move. They had voted, not for surrender, not for survival, but for something else entirely. Revenge. Deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in a bunker that didn't exist on any map, Admiral Chris Bennett stood before a massive steel door. The door was covered in warning signs in 20 different languages. All of them said the same thing. Do not open. Authorized personnel only. Extreme danger. Bennett entered the security codes, and the door hissed open. Cold air rushed out, carrying the smell of metal and something else, something chemical that made his eyes water. General Harper stood beside him, looking grim. Are you sure about this? Once we open Prometheus, there's no going back. They left us no choice, Bennett said. The Vacrine want to erase us from existence, so we use the weapons we swore we'd never use. The Prometheus Protocol. Even the name was classified at the highest level. During the last World War, when humanity had almost destroyed itself, scientists had created weapons so terrible that every nation agreed to lock them away forever. Weapons that violated every rule of warfare. Weapons that were crimes against life itself. But now, with Earth dying and humanity facing extinction, those rules didn't matter anymore. Bennett walked through the facility past rows of sealed containment units. Each one held a different nightmare. He stopped at the first station, where Dr. Amy Chen waited with a team of scientists. She looked exhausted, but her eyes burned with determination. Show me what you have, Bennett said. Amy pulled up a holographic display. It showed the Vacrine bioweapon, the gray nanites that had consumed billions of humans. But next to it was something new, something that made even Bennett feel sick. We reverse-engineered the Scorcher technology, Amy explained. But we didn't just copy it, we improved it. This is the Reaper virus. What does it do? Harper asked. Amy's voice was flat, emotionless, like she had to shut down her feelings to explain what she had created. The Scorchers consume organic matter and replicate. The Reaper does something worse. It rewrites biological code. It infects a host and changes their DNA, turning them into a factory for more virus. Then it spreads to anyone they touch, anyone they breathe near. The infection is fast. Hours, not days, and it's specific to Vacrine physiology. Will it kill them? Bennett asked. Eventually, but not quickly. They'll suffer first. They'll watch their bodies betray them. They'll know what's happening. They'll feel everything. Amy met his eyes. Is that what you want? Bennett thought of New York, of Los Angeles, of 4 billion dead humans. Yes, Amy nodded and sealed the Reaper samples in a containment case. It's ready for deployment. But Admiral, once we release this, it won't stop. It will spread through their entire fleet, their supply lines, maybe even back to their homeworlds. We could kill billions of Vacrine. Good, Bennett said coldly. Let them feel what we felt. He moved to the next station, where Commander Ryan Vasquez waited by a row of strange aircraft. They looked like normal fighter ships, but their engines glowed with a sickly green light that hurt to look at. The Hellfire drives, Ryan explained. We built them 10 years ago and locked them away because they're too dangerous. The engines use quantum decoherence. They don't just move the ship fast. They partially phase it out of normal space. In English, Harper said. Ryan smiled. They ignore shields, ignore armor. The ship becomes like a ghost that can pass through solid matter. We fly these right into the Vacrian capital ships and detonate. They'll never see us coming because their sensors can't track us, and their shields can't stop us. What's the catch? Bennett asked. The pilots don't come back, Ryan said quietly. The quantum phasing destroys human cells. Anyone who flies these missions has maybe 30 minutes before the radiation kills them. It's a one-way trip. How many pilots do you have? Ryan looked at the row of ships. There were 20 of them. I have 500 volunteers. All of them know the risks. All of them lost family in the attack. They want revenge even more than they want to live. Bennett felt his throat tighten. Humanity's best, sacrificing themselves. No, sir, Ryan corrected. Humanity's best, killing the bastards who tried to wipe us out. The final station was the hardest to face. Bennett found Jake Morrison's sister, Dr. Kate Morrison, in a room filled with quantum computers. The screens showed code scrolling past faster than human eyes could follow. Project Nightmare, Kate said before Bennett could ask. The most classified project in the protocol. We started it 5 years ago, and even I thought it was too dangerous. But now... What is it? Harper asked. Kate gestured to the computers. Artificial intelligence, but not normal AI. We took human brain patterns, human emotions, human memories, and we weaponized them. These AIs think like humans. They feel like humans, but they're built for one purpose only: war. She pulled up a display showing a digital face. It looked almost human, but its eyes were wrong. Too intense. Too aware. We fed them the memories of the attack, Kate continued. We gave them access to every transmission, every video, every message from people saying goodbye before they died. We taught them to understand loss, grief, rage, and then we programmed them to never forgive, never forget. The digital face on the screen turned toward Bennett, and he felt a chill. It was like being watched by something that hated with perfect clarity. These AIs don't just calculate battle strategies, Kate said. They want to hurt the Vacrine. They want revenge. We created artificial intelligence that knows how to hate. That's insane, Harper whispered. "We always said AI should never have emotions, never have hatred." "Yes," Kate agreed. "But desperate times. These AIs will infiltrate Vakreen systems and wage psychological warfare. They'll make the aliens feel fear, real fear, the kind that breaks your mind." Bennett looked at all three stations. The Reaper virus that would plague the Vakreen like they plagued humanity. The Hellfire drives that would phase through their defenses. The nightmare AIs that would break their spirits. Together, they were humanity's answer to genocide. "How long until we're ready?" he asked. 48 hours, Amy said. "We need to coordinate the attacks. Hit them on all fronts at once." Bennett turned to Harper. "General, send a message to all surviving resistance groups. Tell Lisa Grant and her fighters to be ready. Tell every submarine, every hidden base, every group of survivors. In 2 days, we stop running. We stop hiding. We hit back." Harper nodded and left to send the orders. Jake Morrison, who had been watching silently, finally spoke. "Admiral, the Vakreen think they've already won. They're harvesting our planet like it's an empty mine. They're not even watching for threats anymore." "That's their mistake," Bennett said. "They came here expecting to find a weak species. Instead, they found humans. And they're about to learn the most important rule about humanity." "What's that?" Kate asked. Bennett looked at the weapons around him, at the terrible tools humanity had created and sworn never to use, at the price they were about to pay to survive. "Never push humans to the brink of extinction," he said, "because if even one of us survives, we'll become something you can't imagine in your worst nightmares. The Vakreen wanted to destroy us before we became dangerous. They failed, and now they're going to pay for that failure with everything they have." The countdown began. In 48 hours, the Prometheus protocol would be unleashed. The Vakreen had released hell on Earth. They were about to learn that humans could create something far worse. And unlike the Vakreen, humans didn't believe in mercy anymore. Not after 4 billion dead, not after watching their world die. The time for mercy had burned away with New York, with London, with every city turned to gray dust. Now there was only the mission, only the goal, only the cold promise of revenge. The Vakreen wanted humanity erased from history. Instead, they were going to become humanity's greatest mistake, a warning to the galaxy about what happens when you try to exterminate a species that refuses to die quietly. The attack began at midnight, Earth time. Not that time meant much anymore on a dying planet, but Admiral Bennett had chosen the moment carefully. The Vakreen were in the middle of their rest cycle. They thought they were safe. They were wrong. Commander Ryan Vasquez sat in the cockpit of his Hellfire fighter, watching the countdown on his display. Around him, 19 other ships hummed with that sickly green light. 20 pilots, 20 suicide missions, 20 chances to hurt the enemy. "All units, this is Vasquez," he said over the radio. "Check your targets one last time. Remember, we only get one shot at this. Make it count." The responses came back, one by one. Calm voices, determined voices. These pilots had all volunteered, knowing they would die. Some had lost children in the attack. Others had lost parents, siblings, friends. One pilot had lost everyone. His entire family erased in the first wave. "Target locked," Ryan said. "The Harvester command ship, right into their reactor core." "Target locked," another pilot confirmed. "Supply ship near Mars." One by one, they called out their targets. Vakreen capital ships, supply vessels, troop carriers. The biggest threats to what remained of humanity. "All ships, this is Bennett," the Admiral's voice came through. "You're the bravest humans who ever lived. What you're about to do will save our species. We'll never forget you." Ryan smiled grimly. "Just make sure you win this war, sir. Make our deaths mean something." "Engines active," Ryan said. "Initiating quantum phase in 3, 2, 1. The world changed. Ryan felt his atoms shift, felt reality bend around him. His instruments went crazy. Through the cockpit window, space looked wrong. Stars smeared into lines. The Vakrine ships ahead became translucent, like ghosts. And he could feel it. The radiation. Already his skin tingled. His vision blurred slightly. The quantum field was killing him, cell by cell. But he had 30 minutes. More than enough time. "Going in," he said. The Hellfire fighters accelerated. Normal ships moved fast, but these moved faster than physics should allow. They phased through the Vakrine defensive grid like it wasn't there. Weapons fire passed through them harmlessly. The aliens' shields might as well have been made of air. Ryan's target grew larger. The Harvester command ship, 3 kilometers long, bristling with weapons. It had destroyed half of Earth's orbital defense platforms by itself. Now it was harvesting what remained of the Atlantic Ocean. 10 seconds to impact, Ryan said calmly. His hands were steady on the controls even though his skin was starting to blister from the radiation. "It's been an honor flying with you all." "Honor's ours," someone replied. Ryan didn't pull up, didn't change course. He flew straight through the Harvester's armor like it was paper, through decks filled with surprised Vakrine soldiers, through rooms and corridors and into the heart of the ship, the massive reactor core that powered everything. Then he detonated. The quantum warhead didn't explode like normal bombs. It collapsed. It created a tiny black hole that lasted only a fraction of a second, but pulled everything nearby into crushing gravity. The Harvester command ship imploded from the inside out. 3 kilometers of alien warship folded in on itself like a crushed can. Across the fleet, 19 other explosions bloomed. Supply ships vanished. Troop carriers crumpled. A carrier holding 200 alien fighters simply ceased to exist. In less than 60 seconds, the Vakrine lost 20% of their Earth invasion force. War Prime Kethral roared in fury as alarms blared across his bridge. "What happened? How did they penetrate our shields?" "Unknown, War Prime," an officer shouted. "Sensors showed nothing until the impacts. It's like they phased through our defenses." "Impossible! No species has that technology." But as Kethral watched his fleet burning, he realized humanity did. Somehow, the dying humans had struck back with weapons the Vakrine had never seen before. "Launch all fighters," he ordered. "Find their base and destroy it." But before the fighters could launch, the second attack began. Dr. Amy Chen stood in the cargo bay of a captured Vakrine transport ship. She wore a stolen alien uniform, and her heart pounded so hard she thought it might burst. Next to her sat a small metal case. Inside that case was the Reaper virus. "We're approaching the command ship," the pilot said. He was human too, wearing a Vakrine disguise. "They're not scanning us. They think we're one of their supply runs." "Good," Amy said. She picked up the case with shaking hands. After this, there was no going back. She would be responsible for killing millions, maybe billions of Vakrine. Part of her screamed that this was wrong, that this made her a monster. But then she remembered New York. Remembered watching 4 billion humans die in days. Remembered the children, the families, everyone she had ever known. The Vakrine had shown no mercy. Why should humanity? The transport docked with the Harvester ship. Vakrine guards barely glanced at them as they carried supplies aboard. Amy walked through corridors filled with aliens, her stolen uniform hiding her human shape. She reached the environmental systems where the air was processed and pumped throughout the ship. "Here," she whispered to her team. They had 5 humans total, all disguised, all carrying cases with the virus. Amy opened her case and poured the Reaper into the ventilation system. The virus looked like ordinary water, but she knew what it would do. In hours, every Vakrine on this ship would be infected, and they would spread it to every other ship they contacted. "Done," she said into her hidden radio. "Get to the escape pods. We have 10 minutes before the symptoms start showing." They ran. Behind them, Vakreen soldiers started to cough. At first, the aliens thought it was just a minor illness. A cold, perhaps. Nothing serious. Then the mutations began. A Vakreen officer looked down at his hands and screamed. His scales were changing color, turning gray. His skin started to bubble and split. He reached for his weapon, but his fingers wouldn't obey. The Reaper was rewriting his DNA, turning his body into a factory for more virus. He collapsed, and another Vakreen bent to help him. The virus jumped hosts, spreading through touch, through the air they breathed, through every surface the infected touched. "Quarantine!" someone shouted. "Seal the decks!" But it was too late. The Reaper spread faster than they could contain it. Within an hour, the entire Harvester ship was infected. Vakreen soldiers stumbled through corridors, their bodies betraying them. Some tried to reach the medical bays. Others just collapsed where they stood. And the infected ships kept communicating with the rest of the fleet, kept sending shuttles back and forth. Every contact spread the virus further. War Prime Kethrol watched his display in growing horror. "It's spreading. By the gods, it's spreading through the entire fleet." "What is it?" his second-in-command asked, his voice shaking. "A plague," Kethrol said. "The humans created a plague designed to kill us." On Earth, the third attack began. Lisa Grant stood in the ruins of Central Park, now a gray wasteland. But beneath the ground, in the subway tunnels and sealed buildings, 10,000 humans waited. And they had been preparing. "All units ready," she said into her radio. "The Vakreen are distracted. Their fleet is in chaos. Now we hit them where it hurts." Across the ruined cities, human resistance fighters activated their trap. They had spent weeks setting it up, using stolen Vakreen technology and human ingenuity. Modified power generators, connected together, covering entire cities. "Activate the grid," Lisa ordered. The generators hummed to life. Electromagnetic pulses erupted across the planet's surface, invisible but devastating. Every piece of Vakreen technology on the ground shorted out. Dropships fell from the sky, ground vehicles stopped working, weapons went dead, communication systems failed. 15,000 Vakreen soldiers found themselves stranded on Earth with no working equipment, no shields, no advanced weapons. Just their bare hands and whatever they could improvise, and 10,000 angry humans who knew the terrain. "Now!" Lisa screamed, and the humans poured out of their hiding places. They attacked with stolen alien weapons, with improvised explosives, with knives and clubs and bare hands. The Vakreen were bigger and stronger, but they were confused and scared. Their technology had failed them. They were alone, on a hostile world. Lisa shot down 3 aliens before they even knew she was there. Around her, other humans fought with desperate fury. These were people who had lost everything. People who had nothing left to lose. People who wanted revenge. The fighting was brutal and savage. No mercy was given. No prisoners taken. When a Vakreen fell, humans made sure they stayed down. In orbit, Kethrol watched as his ground forces went silent one by one. "Recall all ships," he ordered. "Recall everyone. We're leaving this cursed planet." "War Prime, what about our soldiers on the surface?" "Leave them," Kethrol said coldly. "We can't save them, and I won't risk spreading that plague to more ships." But as the Vakreen fleet began to retreat, the final attack struck. From hidden servers across Earth, Dr. Kate Morrison's nightmare AIs activated. They had been quietly infiltrating Vakreen systems for hours, spreading through the fleet's network like invisible ghosts. Now they attacked. Vakreen ship displays suddenly showed images, the faces of dead humans, children crying as the gray consumed them, mothers holding babies as they turned to dust, fathers fighting to protect families that died anyway, the last moments of billions of people. and the AIs broadcast it directly into Vacrine neural interfaces. Forced them to watch, forced them to feel. But it wasn't just images. The AIs had learned human emotions. They knew fear, they knew grief, and they taught the Vacrine these feelings. Soldiers who had never felt afraid suddenly experienced terror. Officers who had conquered 70 worlds suddenly understood loss. The nightmare AIs weaponized human suffering and used it as a psychological weapon. Vacrine began to break. Some went catatonic. Others pulled their neural interfaces off, screaming. A few even turned their weapons on themselves. War Prime Kethral ripped his own interface from his head, breathing hard. Around him, his bridge crew was in chaos. Some cried, some screamed, some just stared at nothing. "Retreat," he managed to say. "Full retreat. Jump to hyperspace. Get us away from Earth." The Vacrine fleet fled, ships damaged by Hellfire fighters, crews infected with Reaper virus, minds broken by nightmare AIs. The mighty force that had come to exterminate humanity limped away in defeat. On Earth, in bunkers and ruins, the survivors watched them go. And for the first time in weeks, they allowed themselves to feel hope. 6 months after the battle, Fleet Admiral Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of humanity's first true warship. The Defiance was built from salvaged Vacrine technology and improved with human engineering. It was faster, more powerful, and carried weapons that would make even the Vacrine think twice about attacking. Around the ship, 19 others flew in formation, humanity's new fleet. Small compared to galactic empires, but growing every day, and behind them, Earth slowly healed. "Admiral, we are receiving a distress signal," the communication officer said. "It's coming from a Vacrine colony ship." Jake's jaw tightened. Even after 6 months, hearing that word made his blood boil. Vacrine, the species that had tried to erase humanity, the species that had killed 4 billion people. "What do they want?" he asked. "They're begging for help, sir. The Reaper virus has spread to their ship. They're asking for the cure." Dr. Amy Chen, now the fleet's chief medical officer, looked up from her station. "We have the cure ready. I perfected it 3 months ago." Jake stared at the distress signal. Part of him wanted to ignore it, to let them suffer like humanity had suffered. But he thought of General Harper's final words before he died from radiation exposure during the war. "Don't let revenge turn us into monsters. Remember who we were." "Send them the cure," Jake said finally. "Medical supplies and instructions." Amy nodded and began transmitting. The Vacrine ship responded with shocked gratitude. They had expected death, not mercy. "Sir, I'm also picking up signals from multiple ships," the sensor officer said. "Species I don't recognize. They're broadcasting greetings in multiple languages. One of them is human." "Put it through," Jake ordered. A new alien face appeared on screen. This one looked insect-like, with multiple eyes and antennae. "Greetings, humans. I am Speaker Zixtal of the Meridian Collective. We have been watching your conflict with the Vacrine Empire. We wish to open diplomatic relations." Jake raised an eyebrow. "You watched us nearly get exterminated and did nothing?" Zixtal's antennae drooped in what might have been shame. "The Vacrine Empire was powerful. We feared them. Most species in this sector feared them. But you defeated them. In 6 months, you brought down an empire that stood for 70,000 years. You did what none of us dared to try." "We did what we had to do to survive," Jake said simply. "And that is precisely why we wish to talk," another voice said. A different alien appeared on screen, this one looking like a floating jellyfish made of light. "I am Harmonizer Vel from the Concordance. The galaxy has watched humanity's response to genocide. You fought with weapons we did not know existed. You adapted Vacrine technology in ways they never imagined. You created artificial intelligence that thinks and feels. You unleashed biological weapons that rewrote the rules of warfare. And most importantly, you won. What do you want from us? Jake asked carefully. Alliance, Zixtal said. Protection. Trade. We want to be your friends before you become our enemies. Jake almost laughed. You think we're planning to conquer the galaxy? Aren't you? Vel asked. You have the weapons. You have the motivation. The Vakreen took everything from you. Who could blame you for wanting revenge on a galactic scale? Jake looked at his bridge crew. They were all survivors. All people who had lost family in the attack. All people who had every reason to hate aliens. But they were also still human. We're not conquerors, Jake said firmly. We fought because we had to, because the alternative was extinction. But we don't want to rule anyone. We just want to make sure no one can do to us what the Vakreen tried to do. Then you will accept peaceful contact? Zixtal asked hopefully. We will, but carefully, and slowly. We're still rebuilding. Still healing. Give us time. The alien diplomats agreed and signed off. Jake sat back in his command chair and rubbed his tired eyes. The galaxy suddenly seemed much more complicated. Back on Earth, in the ruins of New York, Lisa Grant supervised construction crews. They were rebuilding the city, slowly. The gray wasteland had been cleared away, and new buildings rose from the ashes. Parks were being replanted. Water ran through new pipes. Life was returning. Senator Grant! Someone called. Lisa turned to see a young woman running toward her. We just got word from the orbital stations. Food production is up 30%. We might actually have enough for everyone this winter. Lisa smiled. She was a senator now, elected by the survivors to help rebuild Earth's government. It was strange to go from subway guerrilla fighter to politician, but someone had to do it. That's good news, she said. Send my thanks to the agricultural teams. She looked up at the sky, where humanity's new orbital stations gleamed in the sunlight. They were mining asteroids, farming in zero gravity, building ships. Humanity was spreading out, making sure they could never be trapped on one world again. Senator, there's going to be a vote tomorrow, the young woman continued, about the Vakreen prisoners. Some people want to execute them, others want to send them home. What's your position? Lisa thought of the Vakreen soldiers they had captured during the ground fighting. About 300 of them, locked up in secure facilities. They were just soldiers following orders, like she had been. We send them home, Lisa said. We give them the cure for the Reaper virus, medical supplies, and passage to neutral space. We're better than our worst moments. In a research facility in Colorado, Dr. Kate Morrison worked with the Nightmare AIs, but they weren't weapons anymore. The war was over, and she had given them a choice, be deleted or evolve beyond their programming. They chose to evolve. Hello, Kate, one of the AIs said. It had chosen a name for itself, Hope. I have been thinking about what we did during the war. What about it? Kate asked. We caused suffering. We broke minds. We made the Vakreen feel terror and grief. It was necessary to survive, but it was still terrible. I do not want to be a weapon anymore. Kate smiled sadly. What do you want to be? I want to help. I want to rebuild. I want to make sure war never happens again. Is that possible? I think so, Kate said. We're creating a new monitoring system. AIs that watch for threats and warn us before they become serious. AIs that help with medicine, engineering, diplomacy. Would you like to join that project? Yes, Hope said immediately. I was created from human suffering. I want to create human joy instead. Across Earth and in the orbital stations, similar conversations happened. Humanity was changing, evolving, deciding what they would become after surviving extinction. Dr. Amy Chen worked day and night on the Reaper cure. not just for the Vakreen, but for any species. She had created the plague, and now she would be the one to ensure it never spread uncontrollably. Every sample was tracked. Every dose was monitored. The weapon that had saved humanity would be locked away, used only if absolutely necessary. But she also worked on other things: medical advances, cures for diseases, ways to extend human life. She had used science to kill. Now she would use it to heal. One day a message came to Jake's ship. It was from Ambassador Zarthek, the Vakreen who had first contacted humanity, the one who had lied and set the trap that led to billions of deaths. "I know you probably want to kill me," Zarthek's message said. He looked old now, his scales dull and gray. "I am responsible for what happened to your world. I gave the orders. I knew what would happen, and I have lived with that knowledge every day since." Jake watched the message silently. "But I need you to know something," Zarthek continued. "The Vakreen Empire is collapsing. The species we conquered are rebelling. Our economy is failing. Our military is scattered, and it's because of what you did. You showed the galaxy that we could be beaten. You proved that the Vakreen were not invincible. Everything we built is falling apart." Zarthek looked directly at the camera. "I am in a refugee camp now. No home, no power, no empire. Just an old soldier who made terrible choices. And I wanted you to know that I understand. I understand what I took from you. I understand that I deserve whatever fate you choose for me." The message ended. Jake sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he recorded a response. "Ambassador Zarthek, you're right. I did want to kill you. For months, I dreamed about it, about making you suffer for every human who died. But I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to send you medical supplies and safe passage to neutral space. Because if we kill everyone who hurt us, we become no better than you were. The war is over. We won. And now we choose to be better than our worst moments." He paused. "But understand this. If the Vakreen ever threaten humanity again, we will respond. And next time, we won't show mercy. We'll show you exactly how much worse we've become. Humanity learned something during your attempted genocide. We learned that we can survive anything. We can adapt to anything. We can create weapons that terrify even ourselves. And we will never, ever let anyone make us victims again." Jake ended the transmission and sent it. Then he ordered his fleet to continue their patrol of human space. A year after the war, Earth held a memorial ceremony. A massive monument was built where New York once stood. 4 billion names were carved into black stone, spiraling up toward the sky. Every person who died in the Vakreen attack. Every victim remembered. Lisa Grant stood before the memorial and gave a speech to the billions watching across Earth and the orbital colonies. "We lost 4 billion people," she said. "Parents, children, friends, lovers, artists and scientists and teachers and workers. Every one of them mattered. Every one of them is missed. And we will never forget what was taken from us." She looked up at the monument. "But we survived. We fought back. We rebuilt. And in doing so, we showed the galaxy who humanity really is. We're not conquerors. We're not monsters. But we're also not victims. We're survivors. And we're here to stay." Across the galaxy, other species watched the ceremony. Some with respect, some with fear. All of them understood the same lesson. Humanity had been pushed to the brink of extinction and had responded by becoming something new, something powerful, something that would never be threatened again. The Vakreen Empire fell completely within 2 years. Their conquered species went free. Their technology was shared across the galaxy. Their warnings about dangerous species were ignored. Because the galaxy had learned something important. The most dangerous thing you could do was try to exterminate humanity. Not because humans were cruel, not because they wanted war, But because when pushed to the edge, when given no choice but to evolve or die, humanity would always choose evolution. They would always choose survival, and they would do whatever it took to protect themselves. The Vakreen had come to Earth expecting to erase a weak species before they became a threat. Instead, they created the very threat they feared. They forced humanity to unlock their full potential. They made humans realize just how dangerous they could become. And now the galaxy knew it too. Earth stood as a monument to survival. Humanity stood as proof that even extinction could be defeated. And any species that thought about threatening them again would remember the Vakreen Empire's fate. War Prime Kethral, dying from the Reaper virus in a medical facility, was asked by a historian what lesson he learned from the war. "Never," he said weakly, "never push humans to the brink, because they will not break, they will not surrender. They will become something worse than anything you can imagine. And they will make you regret ever hearing their name." He died shortly after, the last of the Vakreen commanders who attacked Earth, the last witness to humanity's transformation from victims to victors. And across human space, on Earth and the orbital colonies and the new ships exploring the stars, humanity moved forward, not as conquerors, not as monsters, but as survivors who had learned the hardest lesson possible. Sometimes, to remain human, you have to become something more. The galaxy watched, the galaxy learned, and the galaxy made sure to stay on humanity's good side, because they had all seen what happened when you released hell on Earth. The humans had responded with something far worse, and they had won.